This story happened to me about 2 years ago when I was working night shifts at a local supermarket near my hometown. I was in my mid-20s, saving money for school, and the overnight hours paid a little more than the day shifts. It wasn't glamorous work, but I told myself it was temporary. I usually worked from 9 p.m. until around 3 in the morning. The store locked its doors to customers at 11, but we still had hours of stocking left to do after that. At first I liked it. The store was quiet, the aisles were empty, and you could just get in a rhythm, but that silence, after a few months, it started to feel oppressive. Like the store was too big, too empty. There were usually just 3 of us in the building, me, another stalker named Brian, and the night manager who mostly stayed in his office. One night in late October, something happened that made me quit overnight shifts for good. It was a Tuesday night, cold and drizzly outside, the kind of night when hardly anyone shopped. By 11, the parking lot was empty, except for a couple of cars. Inside, it was just us. Brian stocked frozen foods way at the back of the store. I handled the dry goods section, cereal, snacks, pasta, cans. That meant we were usually on opposite ends of the building working alone. Around 11:30, I was stacking cereal boxes when I noticed something odd. A small customer shopping cart was parked in the middle of aisle 7. Nothing unusual about a cart, except the store had been closed for half an hour. Customers weren't supposed to be in here. I figured Brian had pulled it there by mistake, so I pushed it aside. 15 minutes later, I heard it, a squeaking noise like a wheel turning slowly. It came from the next aisle over. I called out, "Brian?" No answer. I peeked around the corner. The aisle was empty. I shook it off, convinced I was imagining things. The floor machines sometimes made strange noises as they cooled down, and I knew my mind liked to play tricks when I was tired. But that squeak stopped. Squeak again happened a couple more times, always a few aisles away. When I wheeled my empty pallet back toward the stockroom, I froze. The cart was there again, this time at the very end of aisle 9, 40 feet away. I hadn't touched it since I moved it the first time. I walked closer cautiously and saw something inside, a folded gray hoodie and a half-empty bottle of water, not ours, not Brian's. It looked like someone had been using it recently. That's when it hit me. What if someone had hidden inside the store before we locked the doors? I went to find Brian. He swore he hadn't left anything in the cart. He even laughed at me for being jumpy. But when I brought him back to aisle 9, he stopped laughing. The cart was still there, hoodie and bottle inside. We told the manager, but he barely looked up from his paperwork. "Probably a customer left it earlier. Don't work yourselves up," he said. But I couldn't shake it. Every time I turned into an empty aisle, I expected to see that cart again. Sure enough, about an hour later, I found it parked near the self-checkout lanes. Hoodie still there, bottle still there. That's when Brian started to look nervous too. Around 1 a.m., he went out back for a smoke break, leaving me alone in the aisles. That's when I heard it. Footsteps, slow, heavy, coming from the produce section. I stopped moving. My cart rattled softly as I let go of it. The footsteps were deliberate, a pause, then another step closer. I ducked behind the chip shelves, crouching low, peeking through the bags. That's when I saw him. A man, mid-30s maybe, scruffy beard, dark hoodie, walking slowly past the end of the aisle, hands in his pockets. Not one of us. I held my breath. He stopped, tilted his head like he was listening. Then he kept walking toward frozen foods. I didn't move. My phone was in my pocket, but I was afraid the screen glow would give me away. Finally, I slid it out and texted Brian. "Someone's in the store, hurry back." That's when the overhead lights flickered, twice, then steadied. The silence afterward was suffocating. I decided to move toward the manager's office as quietly as possible. But when I passed aisle 9, I nearly jumped out of my skin. The cart was there again, this time sideways, like someone had just shoved it there in a hurry. The hoodie was gone. I backed away slowly, trying not to make a sound. My mind was racing. Should I hide in the stock room, make a run for the office? Then I heard it. Wheels squeaking. The sound echoed from 2 aisles over, moving in short bursts. Stop, start, stop again, like whoever it was wanted me to hear. I pressed myself against the shelf, heart pounding until the sound faded. Finally, I made a dash for the office. I didn't care about noise anymore. I banged on the door until the manager opened it. I must have looked pale because he immediately called Brian back inside. We searched the aisles together. Nothing. But when we circled back toward frozen foods, the cart was gone. We We checked the bathrooms, the stock room, even the locked freezer. No trace of the man. The manager promised to check the cameras in the morning. The next night, I asked what he found. He looked uneasy. The cameras cut out, he said. From midnight to 1:15, black screen, no footage. No hoodie, no water bottle, no sign of forced entry, just missing footage. To this day, I don't know if the man had been hiding in the store before closing or if he slipped out while Brian was outside smoking. All I know is that squeak, the sound of those cartwheels and the silence still makes me freeze. And I never worked an overnight shift again.